Welcome, everyone, to Elevate with V. So excited to be here with everyone. This podcast was inspired by my own healing journey, and I aspire to share amazing healers and coaches to help us each elevate on our journey so we can keep aligning with our soul's calling and gifts. I cannot wait to introduce my guest today, Joy. She is a medium, a psychic, a pagan minister, startup coach, founder of Potatoes for Pennies, founder of JayneTalks, Reiki, psychic gift development, stand-up comedian, Joy Ambassador, founder of AJB Joy Tribe Mission International, published author, foodie, and sister to all. Welcome, Joy.
Hello, thank you for having me, dear.
I am so excited to have you here. And Joy and I were kind of chatting a little bit in the back, and we've had the pleasure to actually connect on Clubhouse. And in a very short time, I was just like, okay, whatever she's up to, I'm interested in. And just all the parts that you've shared of your own personal story and journey have always impacted me. And I can just tell they come from a place of just such authenticity. And that's what this show is about, really just sharing authentic healing stories, because I think it's through the stories that creates the most amount of impact. That's where people find themselves. That's where change and transformation begins. And, you know, also the opportunity for each one of us to be seen and heard. And at the end of the day, that to me is the most valuable thing, that people are seen and heard, and that they're valued, and every experience is important. So as we're going to jump into the informal chat session, is there anything you want to add to your introduction today, Joy?
I'd like to read the back of my book. And my book is called Joy Archie. I can take and definitely make that available for under the chats when you send this out, just to make sure people can get a hold of it. Right now, I'm looking for the right publishing house to be able to do it all eco-friendly. I was making them myself, and I got very behind because you can only make so many. I was literally putting the book together by hand.
Oh
So,
my goodness.
and I got orders, and I'm like, okay, I got to change the situation. So I'm going to have a lot available shortly. But here's what I think is important to know about where I'm coming from before we get into stories. I'm a simple human who's been put through extraordinary life. I've survived rape, beatings, excessive weight gain, cancer, heart attacks, a slip and fall injury that had me on a walker for a year, persecution for my faith, my sexual preference, my size. I've survived jail, a dark paramilitary past, a DHS history past, mental wards, and being bedridden for before I was 40 years old. And I've come out on the other side with love, peace, and joy. I got out of my bed, I changed my life, and now I'm helping internationally to bring hope and a hand up to anybody willing to take and better themselves. So that is what I did with my book. And it's just a little bit of writings I have from about the last 5 years of just putting positive things on Facebook and Instagram. I think it's important to take, when there's so much gross out there, just to have something that you can look to, not just that saying, you know, life could be better or you could be positive, but actually, hey, look at you, you're amazing, you're honorable, you have a lot going on. Like, see people, honor them, love them, and take them from where they are. We don't have a clue, Vanita, when we meet people, how much they've gone through. So meet everybody like they are a God who's been put through every test on the planet, because they might have, and you don't know that. So just love them for the fact that they're standing in front of you at whatever age they made it that far. This place is crazy.
Joy, oh my goodness, you are a passionate person, and I love what you shared. That, wow, that was packed with information. So now we're actually going to get into it and get into your story. So what I love is, you know, you were kind of sharing how you went from how you called that you were not a very good person. And then over the course of your journey, you completely shifted gears, and it's like a 360, right? And so I would love to find out from you, because generally what I do is I kind of get into like, you know, what's the healing journey? Like, what event or events led you into that? But I think it would be really powerful for you to kind of share kind of before you stepped into that, some of the things that were maybe not so positive that you were doing, and then how you kind of like shifted once things started to like move into like, okay, I don't want to be that person. I don't want to do that anymore. So whatever you feel comfortable sharing, obviously your story is packed. There's so much. We could do like 4 episodes, but I wanted to kind of hand it back to you to say, what do you feel comfortable sharing from your healing journey?
Well, in the process of time being only 45 minutes to an hour for your podcast, I won't go through all the whole story, but I do want to say that it was almost like an epiphany that happened throughout my sleep. I literally was 23. I was working for a group that used their psychic abilities for negative gain, positive to them, but negative to the world. And I did a lot of work for them. I was good at the job because I'm very good at moving energy. And so I did what I was asked to do for 3 years. And I woke up one morning and I said, wow, if I can hurt somebody, or if I could take something from them, I probably could put it back. I could probably grow it. I could probably heal that. And I started thinking about it. And the more that I thought about it, the more I started looking at what I could go back and fix that I had already been a part of. And unfortunately, there were some things that I'll never be able to fix. And I'm not going to lie to you, my story of change started in a place of guilt. I was very guilty about what I couldn't fix again. And so I thought, okay, well, now I've got to make penance. And I started doing that before I died. I'm like, all right, I'm going to take and figure out how I can give back now. I got to give back so much bigger than what I took. And what I took was real big from a few people. So I started giving my time. I started giving my life. I started giving my healing away. I started taking and helping. I started learning as much as I possibly could to take and be the answer for anything or anyone. And then I asked the universe, how can I be the yes girl? And I did this for about 10 years. I said, just let me be the one that they can come to and get whatever they need. Maybe it's a trinket that they lost that their mom gave them. Maybe it's something that, there's only, 3 of them made in the world. Maybe it's something that, just let me be the yes girl. Let the weird things come through my hands. And I'll tell you, Vanita, that was a strange thing to ask for spirit, because they definitely made me the weird person that had the weird stuff. And I won't get into a lot of those stories, but it was a fun job for a while. And then it was weird. I had a couple of people that I would consider gurus or what I call human angels that came to me and said, I feel like your job is done. You don't really have to do anymore. Do you want to retire? And I was like, no. I said, let's make it the next level up. Let's do something bigger for more people. And so I started working for people, but I was eating really, really crappy. And my heart was starting to have problems again. I was going into heart attacks again. My weight was outrageous. And I was starting to spend more time in bed than I was up. And so to give you an idea of where I was, it was like 23 when things changed, with me starting to try to do things well. 33 was about the time my health started failing on me. And by 43, I was bedridden completely. I really was all the way bedridden. I'd been bedridden for about 3 years when I was watching a Hallmark movie, believe it or not, and I'll give them credit. And I was sitting with a friend of mine who knew I was going to die soon, but loved me because my mom, or their mom, and me were best friends when she was alive. And she says, I can't lose you like I lost your mom. I said, I wish things were like the Hallmark movies where they just turned around and got better. I said, this is kind of stupid. And she goes, well, why can't it be? Just get the hell out of that bed and let's change it. And I was like, yeah, what if? It's amazing the strength that we have as human beings over the ability to speak to our bodies. And I think that's probably the most important thing that I want to get across with all my stories. When I was 19 was when I had the slip and fall injury. And I was on a walker for a year at 19 years old. I was still very angry back then, but they told me that I needed to get fitted for a wheelchair before I was 20. And I threw my walker at the doctor and I hobbled to the bus station, and I'll get a riding cart if I have to go in the grocery store for a really long time. Just because those floors are hard and I don't usually do a lot of walking like that. I can walk in nature for a lot longer than I can walk at Walmart, but if I'm in the store or something, I'll get a cart sometimes. But for the most part, I'm ambulatory still, and I just turned 50. And that's 30 years after they told me I'd be in a wheelchair. And if I'd accepted that, I'd be in that wheelchair, and there would never have been any way to turn that around the way that I was. I would have petrified everything by then, 30 years of sitting. So I'm grateful that I didn't listen then. And I guess when you learn lessons like that young, sometimes you just keep going in that direction in all the other areas of your life, right? So I never really took no ever. People would tell me I can't. It's almost like they're pushing me to do it because I got to show them I can, because they said I can't. I don't like that. Don't tell me I can't. I've never been okay with that. And that's a little bit of my Virgo with all the risings that I have. I'm a little bratty, but it served me well, and I've learned how to use that even in love. And I think that's really the bottom line of why I love doing what I do as a minister, because our darkest demons can actually be tools. They don't have to be something that we have to shut down and push out. We just need to learn how to use it for the betterment of ourselves and the world. So if you're somebody who's easily agitated, then that means you're probably really good at details. See how you turn it around? It's different, but it's really the way that you can make power out of anything. And so I have a lot of those. I like everything to be in its place. I want everything to have a reason. And if I can't find it, I'm going to go make that reason work, or change the whole process somehow to make it something so that I can follow how it got done. And that, I think they call that innovation. I need it some other way because it's got to work for my brain. So, one of my closest friends on Clubhouse, Lauren, she calls herself neuro-spicy, and I love that. But then I thought about it, and I thought, well, I'm not just spicy though. Sometimes I'm too gushy. Sometimes I said, I am neuro-umami. Sometimes I'm the soft blanket for you. Sometimes I am the wolf that needs to scream in your face. And sometimes I'm the protector, and sometimes I'm the wise owl. And I think it's okay for us to have all those parts and not call it a disease. I think that that's a big part of healing too, is accepting the parts of you are absolutely amazing. How can you use them in kindness and love towards yourself and all others? That's the only thing we've got to learn. So that to me has been where I've come to. And the more mature I get and the older I get, the more it blows me away that anybody wants to listen to my words, because my whole life people have run away from me and the moon on my forehead. And, it's been a very strange life being a lesbian pagan minister that's fat. It's been very interesting because everybody seems to have a problem with one or the other parts of me. And I just stopped giving a hoot about that. I don't care anymore, whether you like it or don't. I'm here to do a job, and either you're going to stand with me and help me help more people, or you need to move on, buddy, because you're in my way. And that really is how I've lived the last few years of my life. And I just keep watching more people go, yeah, let's do that. Yeah. And it's really beautiful. And I think that, like many people, Clubhouse saved my life. I was in a dark place when we all got shut down. I was doing beautiful tours around the US, selling crystals at the biggest events with 40 and 50,000 people a weekend. And then I had no hugs for a month. I almost died, Vanita. I didn't know what to do, being locked in my house without hugs. A minister that sees 50,000 people a weekend goes to no hugs. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to do. And Clubhouse gave me a chance to use my voice and find other people that were like-minded like me. And now we're all coming back out of the closet. We're all getting together in real life, and it's kind of beautiful. And I'm loving this new way that we're working. So I'm grateful to be here today.
Oh my gosh, that's so powerful. And I love what you are sharing and what you chose to focus, what you're sharing on. And I think it's incredible that it does come down to like our mind, like what we tell ourselves, and, all the struggles that we go through of not being accepted and loved for who we are. And, you would agree with this, Joy, that at the end of the day, the most important person is us. We have to accept and love ourselves. And the moment that happens, I think like that's when we are the most powerful, right? Because then it's like, it doesn't matter what anybody else says. It's like, we know who we are, we stand in our power, and then other people see that, right? Like, how can someone be like, wait, she's so confident? You're either going to love it or it's going to bother you, right? And if it's bothering you,
because you're not there yet. We need to love yourself. So I had an argument today on Clubhouse, and I have to share this because of the way that you just put that. And the thought process that I have is I think the true opening of your power is when you completely open your heart and you put the door stoppers in front of it and keep that door open and you just keep pouring love out. Two things happen, Vanita. One, nothing's coming in to fuck with you because all that's going out is too much for it to be stopped, to have something flow the other way. So always be a giver. Give. And that will flood the gate going one direction. But secondly, you don't have to worry about protection, because when you meet a human being and you are giving them nothing but pure love, you're seeing them, honoring them, truly feeling their struggle and appreciating who they are and how they got there. They're not gonna fight you. They're not going to.
Yeah. And I think the thing, and it's so interesting you said this, because I was in a room just yesterday and we were talking about this whole thing about like empaths and how all our lives, we're just like naturally people who love and we want to give and we want to share. And there's actually quite a backlash that each one of us has kind of received because of that. And I was just sharing the story of, anytime I'm out and about, I just smile, or I go into the grocery store, I'm in the line and people are agitated, they're irritated, it's end of the day and they're standing in line. And I'm just like love bombing people, like, okay, well, I've got nothing else to do. It's free. I mean, I'm hanging out here. But that energy bothers a lot of people. And the thing is, what ends up happening is it doesn't matter if it bothers somebody. It brings me joy. So I'm going to do it. And it doesn't matter what you think about it. I'm just offering it. You don't have to take it, but it's there if you choose. So I think that's such an important piece, like what you're sharing as well, Joy. And I didn't necessarily want to backtrack, but I also know that you're an incredibly gifted healer. And I wanted to ask you, it sounds like you were someone who had your gifts very early. Were you kind of pretty much like 3 or 4 years old and you're like, okay.
Yeah. My first dead person that I remember speaking to was three. I would think I was 3.5 or 4 years old. I went across the street to the park. I look back and I don't know how our parents could let us leave the house at 3 or 4 years old and go across the street, but whatever. I remember going across the street. I sat on a park bench and there was a lady there and I held her hand. I remember feeling her hand, Vanita. And I said, I'm sorry that your husband died and left you sad and alone. And she started laughing and I got very angry. I stood up, I dropped her hand, put both my hands on my hips. And I said, that's not funny. I didn't say anything funny. And she goes, yes, you did, darling. I'm gone too. And I said, what are you gone? She's like, I don't live anymore either, sweetheart. You're just special and you can see me. So of course I went home to tell my very Baptist mother about it. It didn't go over very well. I says, Mommy, I just met a dead lady. I just met a dead lady. So she's running over to the park to go see a body that there's not. And I said, I talked to her right on the bench. And she's like, all right. So she hauls me off to church. Everybody puts hands on me to try to fix me because obviously the devil has taken hold. And I share this too, because I think it's important for people to understand there's nothing wrong with faith in anything. I do have a problem with forcing other people to try to be just like you, because gifts are different to each human being and none of them are wrong. But I had nobody teaching me how to use it, which is the only reason I could have been taken advantage of later by an organization when I was 19 to do the wrong thing with it, because they didn't help me. They just told me it was wrong. And somebody else said, no, it's right. Come with us. And I did that. So I say this as a big warning for people. Don't tell your kids they're bad. That's a terrible, terrible thing. We're all good. And when you teach good, what would Hitler be like if he was told his artwork was amazing by his mother? And I'll leave it at that with that thought. He might not have ever done the things he did if he had just gotten a little bit of praise when he was little.
Yeah, that's a whole other topic there, Joy. But yes, absolutely. I mean, I think so much of this is about, in some sense, we all realize that we've chosen these very challenging journeys so that we can be the change makers. Most of us have been black sheeps and it's like never understood, never supported. And I know it's purposeful because we sit where we are today doing the work we are, but at that time we didn't have any tools. We didn't know
No,
anything, and we were not supported for, what were gifts, but they were looked upon as completely negative, or you're possessed or this or that. So, as a child, that's so confusing because you're just wanting to be loved and accepted. And so
right.
then what happens is that, then you're kind of molding yourself into like, well, what do I need to do to kind of fit in more? And so a lot of super gifted people like you are forced into these sort of like squares or peg holes, and you're like, I just don't fit, and it doesn't make sense and it doesn't feel right. But kind of what you said, because you didn't really have a channel or an outlet or someone to guide you and nurture you through that process, there were people who took advantage of you,
Ex-
and you didn't know any better. And at some point you realized, whoa, what am I part of? This is absolutely not good. And I'm grateful that you were able to get out, because there are a lot of things that I've read where people were not able
I don't
to.
think I'm supposed to, Vanita, and I only think that I am out because whatever methods they've tried have not worked to hurt me. And I give credit to every, I have a picture, and I always share this, but my guardian angel, those little games you play on Facebook and it shows you what they look like or what they're saying. And mine is smoking a cigar and drinking bourbon and saying, "Oh God, here she goes again." Because that's kind of the way my life has gone. And I know that there's a whole lot of really butch protectors for me. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of big people and a lot of big creatures. And I give faith to all of the elementals, the aliens, the angels, the beings of light, the seen, the unseen, the human, the not human. I think everything out there has an energy. And that if we give respect to all the things, then we're going to be on the side of respect, and that will garner respect later. I think that we're a mirror for whatever we are, but also if we can give a mirror to the world, then they're going to reflect back what we give them. So I try to give always good, positive, uplifting, wanting someone's best, because that's what I'd like to have back. Does it always happen? No. You make plenty of enemies being a little different thinking, that's for sure. But in the long run, I'm also grateful for the resistance, because it wouldn't make me strong. I wouldn't be here and be able to say I don't give a flying one about what people think about me. If my mom accepted me, probably never would have had that attitude. But because I never got it as a child, I don't miss it. So I don't need it now.
Yeah, so powerful, Joy. And, I think this is where we come to a place where we get to choose, right? The more we learn about ourselves and we're like, wow, these are really gifts. And I've learned so much on this journey. And you have definitely dealt with a lot of things. Just in that paragraph that you read from your book, I was like, whoa, we could
Yeah.
have many episodes diving into this stuff. But what you have truly shown is that you have taken those things, and how they say, taking lemons and making lemonade. I know that's a very simplified version, but like literally you have taken those things and transmuted them and said, I'm going to do good, and I'm going to take charge. I'm going to take control of what that looks like. And you're on your own mission. You're like, yes, I went through all of those things. They were not easy. You're still dealing with things. I'm still dealing with things, but our focus is on doing good and putting more good and love out into the world. And I think the moment we are in that space, that also shows us how much healing work we've done, right? To be able to stand in that place where you're like, okay, I feel pretty good about the work that I've done, and I'm ready now to share that. For me, this podcast is that, like, this would never be possible had I not gone through that complete breakdown, like everything falling apart, and for me to rebuild and to say, who do I want to be now on my own terms, not how people define me, not how I grew up, not what people told me was right or wrong, and to be comfortable in my own skin and to say, I don't care who listens. I don't care what you think about me. This is what feels right. It feels aligned with my soul. I know it's making a difference. So I'm going to keep doing it because I do feel like it's guided. I feel like it's totally guided. And so the same way for you. And I would love for us to talk a little bit about this because I know you have many projects, but there's a project that you're really focused on and super energized about. So I wanted to make sure to give you time to talk about that. And that is JayneTalks. So please share with us what you're up to with that.
I will, but I do want to just add one final remark to the last part of the statement we were talking about. And that is, if there's somebody that's listening or watching this later, I want them to think about this. If you're in a space in your heart or your mind where you think, I've done too much, I've been down too far, it's too late for me, I can't make a difference, whatever that non-believing part of you that's speaking to you that says that, I want you to reframe everything you've been through. And I want you to realize that every single person has had to play the hero or the villain in every situation that we've been through. And thank you. I want to thank you personally for going through that hardship that someone else didn't have to do.
Yes,
so take
that is beautiful.
and work on that, build from there, and let's make this world a better place because there is room for you too. And that leads into JayneTalk. So my beautiful and amazing thought process was, and it was born out of not being able to get on a TED Talk stage. Not that I could have followed all the rules. I could have paid the $7,000 and had somebody put me through and made it happen. But the thing is that I was going to be curtailed. I would not be able to cuss. I would not be able to smoke weed. I would not be able to take and be myself because they don't want a lesbian, pagan, pot smoking guru. That's not who they want. I'm not the norm. I don't fit into a pattern. I don't seem to be something that can make them any money. So they don't want me to be able to be a part of that. So because of that, I decided to make my own show where you can smoke weed and you can be a cigarette smoker, or maybe you drink wine or beer, and you could take and be lesbian, straight, gay, bisexual, transgender, or any other of the many letters that I don't even know because I started this process back in the 70s, not now. I think that it's important for everyone to have a voice. And that's what JayneTalks is about. So thank you for letting me add that. So we are starting in Maine. I actually just changed everything with the people that are working on it. But we have some really big people that are helping. Sid McNary, who's running for president 2028. Pete Cohen just joined this morning. So we have in my opinion, drop the pipe. In my opinion, the British Tony Robbins. That's what I think of him. And, we have Tony Rodriguez, who's actually Get Up and Grows Club, but also he is a mentor and teacher for Tony Robbins circuit for over 20 years. And we have one of the West Coast's most premier fitness coaches, who is the No Excuse Coaches, Christopher Rausch, are all part of this program. It's going to be really, really exciting. We are doing some major things to help the everyday person have a place, to have a real live stage without all the rules, exclusions, worry about whoever you are, whatever you are. We don't care. We just want to hear your voice. And there's only one question I'm asking. And that's a dangerous way to build a legacy, but it's that important. And that is, what is your superpower? What's your special gift that you're here to use on this planet to better our world? That's it. That's all I want to know from every individual. If we can get that information out of everyone on this planet, we'll know exactly who to go to for what. And we can fix everything way faster if we work all together. We'll know how to barter, won't we, when we know what we've all got?
Oh my goodness. Love that so much. Oh my gosh. I was like, look out, TED Talks, okay? There's a new group in town. Wow, I love that.
I say it every time I'm on anything public. I love TED Talks, and they are something that should be shared, and that's their tagline. But now JayneTalk is going to be a stage for the rest of us, and that's nothing wrong with that. We can have 20 because there's no competition in this planet. There's only collaboration. And I hope that the people of TED Talks could take and maybe send me the people that may not be right for their stage, so that we can have a place immediately for them to be accepted instead of for them to be put to the side. I would love to work with them. Let's work in tandem instead of against each other. Let's build an even bigger legacy and make this world even brighter. That's my theory. I don't think any of us have to be left out.
I couldn't agree more, Joy. I couldn't agree more. Like, you're like speaking to my heart, because I've always been that person, and I actually never understood. I was like, why are people always competing? Like, you're gonna laugh. Like, even as a kid, when you grew up playing those different board games or other games, it just always bothered me. I'm
Yeah,
like,
I
why are we competing?
there's winners. Aren't we all having?
Yeah,
Can't we just
I just never understood. I'm like, why? What is this? I just never liked the energy. It just didn't feel right to me. And, in all the years that I've had my own business, I've done all of these different things, as sure, you have too, but it just always bothered me, because I'm like, why can't we like do things together? What is all this competition energy? And why are people tearing each other down? Like, I don't understand. And so now, as I'm stepping more and more into kind of who I am and what I'm here to do, it's actually reminding me exactly what you're saying, is that, wow, we get to create now. We get to create what we want. And it's exactly what you're saying. There is no competition. We're all unique. We all have gifts. And so if each of us gets to share our gift, imagine what we can do together. Like, so powerful, and to also be supported and loved and nurtured in the process, right? Because I think those are some key ingredients that we each did not receive in many places in our life. But now it's not even about necessarily having those things, because it's coming from inside, but it's wonderful to get that reinforcement and that reassurance from outside, and to know that people have a similar mindset. They have a similar sort of goal of wanting to create more of that. And you know how they always say, and I know it's a little bit cliche, but like, be the change that you want to see. And guess what? We are not waiting for anyone to do it. We are doing it. We are doing it.
I like to tell people all the time, Vanita, that they need to stop waiting for the giants to show up and save us. We're those giants, guys. We got to get on ball that right now. We got to get on the ball, and we got to start making the difference. The way that potatoes for pennies came about is the same kind of story. At the beginning of COVID, I had someone reach out to me on Facebook. And to be honest with you, I thought they were scamming me, because they were asking me for money. And I said, let me ask you a real question. What do you want the money for? She's like, clothing and food. And I says, well, why don't you just ask me for clothing and food then? And she's like, okay, I need clothing and food. I said, okay. Within a week, all of my coven, everybody in Maine had gotten together 46 boxes of food and clothes to send over. I had raised about $200 for shipping. It was going to cost me an exorbitant, like $3,300 or something to send it all over to Africa. Then I get to the post office, they're like, you can't send it here. Then I went to UPS, you can't send that. Then I went to FedEx, you can't send that. Then I started calling DHL. I started calling military transport. I started calling all of the different ministries in the different places I could find in the Kenya area where this lady was. No one would let me get it there. I thought it was COVID restriction at first. So I started calling all of my congressmen, senators, started calling, and I went through the phone book. I talked to all of them, and most of them didn't even get back to me. What do they care about a small little freaking place in Kibera, Kenya? They don't care. You know what I mean? So I couldn't get anything to work. I couldn't get anything to happen. Nobody got back to me. 4 months of this, beating my head up against a wall. And I says, you know what? I wrote her back. I says, if I send you a little bit of money, would you take pictures of what you buy and show me, and let's work together and let's build a relationship. And I'm just going to send you a little to get you started. And we planted the first acre of organic potatoes in Africa. Nothing is grown organic over there because the bugs are the size of our arms. They're so big over there. So I had to teach her ways to keep the bugs away from them without using chemicals to hurt the food. So their potatoes grow a little smaller because we put salt and diatomaceous earth in the ground, so the potatoes don't grow quite as big, but we were able to grow food over there. And then the next year I told her, I says, don't give me back the money. Get me 2 more families that you can help teach, and let's raise the money for 2 more to do it. Well, by the end of the second year, we had 5 families growing an acre of potatoes, and now an area that had no food and nobody would ship to has food growing. I
Oh my
didn't make a big
gosh.
drop in the bucket. It's just a little bit of potatoes in one small area. But if everyone did at least what I did, the world would already be fixed. So my thought was, okay, I've got to take AJB Joy Tribe mission somewhere bigger and talk about this and try to see if I can get people to sign up and tell me what they want to fix. Because the one thing I've been good at, the way I've started so many businesses, the reason that entrepreneurial coach is in there is I can see the answer to the problem that you can't see. You just have to say what's the problem is, and I can tell you how to go around it or over it or through it because I've never been allowed to play in any box. So I can always see all the other ways to fix it. So they come to me, they tell me what the problem is or what they want to start, and I can tell you how to do that. JayneTalk is just giving me a much bigger platform to be able to do what I've already been doing, which is trying to find a way to find out what gives you joy that you want to fix on this planet through the gift that you understand that's yours and how we can get it all together. And we're making a giant database of all of these people and what they have to offer, because Google can't tell you that by what they buy. They can't tell you what their innate gift is.
Yes. I was just going to say, I'm like, Joy, so is that your superpower?
I think my superpower is helping other people find their joy and then actually being able to stand in it.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Yeah,
Which
that's beautiful.
joy. And because you're my first like bigger podcast, I want to give you a gift that I haven't given to anybody else. And that's why I don't like my name Julie. I've told this story a couple of times on Clubhouse, but I've never told it in a big audience like this. So my mother and my father were fighting on the day I was born. And my dad really thought that he could hold my nose and I wouldn't be born till tomorrow, which doesn't exactly work. So he broke my nose. He wanted to name me Joy. My mom wanted to name me Julie. And she said, after labor, you broke the baby. I get to name her. But it was the one person in my life that was so mean to me and so hateful and actually wound up moving me away from my father. Not that he would have been a better person had I known him, because I'm an adult now and I can see there's always two sides, but I still had a very nasty taste in my mouth for my mom. And I didn't want to have what she gave me. I wanted to have what I missed out on. And I think that's the glory of life, right? Is for us to be able to try the things on that we didn't get. So I'm trying on joy for the last probably 10 years now. I've been calling myself Joy and I'm okay with it. But that's where that name came from for me.
Oh, I love that. And I think it actually suits you perfectly just in our conversation and everything that you're sharing and what you're looking to do. I think that that word really epitomizes who you are. So I love it. So I'm excited for you to keep moving forward with that, and just really, really excited about JayneTalks. And I'm definitely going to want to learn more and see if there's a way for me to like join and participate. I'm not like a Pete Cohen. I'm not like a Sid McNary, and I don't care, because every single one of us has something that we can offer. And so, to me, it's about like, what piece could I contribute as the
Yeah.
sirens are going right by my apartment?
Who cares? Life is happening to all. That's the one thing
Exactly.
I'm so blessed that COVID had us all have to be at home on computers, because now it seems normal when the cat meows or when the baby cries or when the tea starts screaming. You know what I mean? Because everybody's doing life also. And in my perfect world, which is a very silly place, I think, but in my perfect world, you only work whatever hours you want on any day you're given, and you only do what you really love doing. And there's no paycheck, there's just credits that you put in on that. So say you painted 5 paintings over the course of a year, then you have whatever those credits would be worth to you, not what someone else says they're worth. And you plug in your credits that you have that, and then you can go to the doctor if you want, or you can go and buy a Gucci bag with the credits, which it can all be done with AI now. And then there's no more money problem. Everybody just does what they want. And if somebody does nothing, they have no credit. That's the point.
Yeah, I like how you shared that. I mean, for me, I have been paying attention to, um, communities that are starting to like get together, but like set up in a completely different model. So it's not
Yeah,
run by the government. It's like by the people, for the people, literally. And
right.
it's very much what you're describing, where each person has a gift or talent. If all they did was 3 hours of work in their expertise, that's all they would need to do for the whole week. And the community would run. So I'm paying very close attention to what's going on with this, because they're still testing it. But that's kind of what I'm looking at, because it's all about like all of us, again, sharing our unique gifts, things that we really enjoy doing, have plenty of time to both contribute, but also enjoy our time. And have it be in a way where it's more about collaboration and about co-creating things together. And that always excites me. Like for me, doing this right now, like this is a co-creation. I get to
Yeah,
play. This is my playground, and I just have so much joy and fun. And to me, that's what it's about. Like, find the things that light you up, find the things that bring you joy, and just keep doing more and more of that. Because I truly believe when we do that, that's when we connect with others that are doing the same things, and we
yeah,
find each other. It's contagious.
yeah. And it grows entropy. It's not just like because you and I are getting together now, there's all of my following and all of your following just became a bigger following because we collaborated instead of trying to tear each other down because we do similar work. How silly is that when we could work together and make a bigger building? It doesn't make any sense.
Yes. And I love what you are sharing, because to me, one of the key things with when you were sharing about JayneTalks, it's almost sort of like how, like, I see myself as a unicorn, and it's almost like all the unicorns that were like not necessarily accepted for their amazing beauty and all their talents. And you're like calling in all the unicorns. And to me, so much about this for me is also that, I do kind of handpick who I choose to have on my podcast. And it's because I want to showcase the stories that a lot of other people might not have wanted to kind of bring onto their shows or onto their audience. But I think it's so valuable because there's so many of us just waiting for a joy to show up, waiting for some of my other guests to show up to be, wow, that's so similar to my experience. I don't need to hide. Like, I can come out, I can show myself, I can be myself. And, to empower people to say, wow, I mean, look where you started, right, Joy? And look where you are right now. Look what you're looking to create. Like, so much is possible. So much is possible. And jump in, come and play. You don't have to take the lead. Go and find other people that are doing things that you resonate with, and be a part of it. Be a part of it. And that's kind of what you and I both are sharing. And I'm really excited for JayneTalks. And usually it's not something I get into too much when people have like their projects, but I know that this is a big project. It's very impactful, and I know that it's building momentum. So I can't wait to see what's going to happen with it. And I'm just so excited for you, because I can't even imagine how transformative it is for you as well, and healing it is for you as well. So I'm just so
And
excited.
hopefully even more for other people to watch it again because I was bedridden and I was 43 years old and didn't think I'd ever move again. And 7 years later, I am walking. I live upstairs in my house. I have to do stairs 10 times a day. And I do all my own toileting and showering, and all of those things were unable to be done. I actually cried I think it was about 6 weeks ago. For the first time, I was able to actually cut my own toenails without any assistance of someone else. Those are small things that nobody thinks about, but boy, that was like the biggest ever. You know what I mean? That I was able to do that on my own. So, I think that part of what is so healing for people when you are able to listen to other healing stories is that minute that you get of gratitude for not having whatever they had or have going on in their world, And gratitude, I believe, it's the glue. It's the glue that will get you to the next step and put your next rung on. You can't get there without gratitude, because you need to be grateful, not just for the things that seem to work in your favor and that got better, but for everything that ever went wrong that brought you to be the person you are now. Because you wouldn't be any of you the way you are now if something bad that happened to you didn't happen. Just like if something good that happened didn't happen, all the parts made you where you are now.
I couldn't have said it better, Joy, because I was going to say, like I mentioned earlier, like I would not be sitting here doing a podcast had not experienced all these things that in that moment when it was happening, when your life was falling apart, you're not thinking, you're probably like, oh my God, what in the world universe? What are you doing? You just like shattered everything.
Yeah.
And in that moment, you're not going to have the insight or the foresight. But then as you're moving along your journey, it's kind of like how you were saying before of, you get to look back and it's like, wow, look how far I've come. Look at all the choices and the learning that I've had. And I love that you shared like such a simple thing brought you so much joy and just like clipping your toenails, right? Like someone be like, what? That's huge,
Go
right?
20 years without being able to and
Yeah.
having to someone to do it, or beg someone who doesn't really like feet that might love you to do it, and then be able to do it yourself. It's an incredible feeling. And there's people with those kind of small miracles every day, but we don't hear about those or understand the weight of how wonderful they are. When you start looking for the things that go right, and you start, and I love Dr. Jill for that. She was the first one on the Clubhouse that really got my attention with the What Went Right Today. And I became a part of Everything Is Right About You movement. I was actually her first ambassador. I made the first set of stickers and took and passed out almost 2,000 of them one summer, because I really believe that if we start looking at everything that's right about us, we can see the rest of it and it all starts unfolding more right. And when you're looking at the positivity, when you're trying to see the silver lining, all of a sudden the clouds move completely and you see the sunshine, because it's just an incredible feeling to see that every single movement has brought you here. So thank you. Thank you, bad times. Thank you, gut rot. Thank you for making me, 800 pounds and having to have other people bathe me. Thank you for making me lose my car. I never would have found Clubhouse. And if I had a car, I'd have just stopped worrying. When the phone didn't work, I just kept going and I just kept traveling, and it wouldn't be what it is now. But I had to be still and I had to be stationary. And so I had to get on Clubhouse to stay sane. And so I put a lot of hours there. But it was because of that I met people like you, and that made it worth it. And that's what it's all about. As we connect and we tie, we start seeing that invisible fabric. And all of us are on the tapestry. We just have to take and connect and say, hi, thread. How are you? Hi, little
Yeah.
thread.
Yes.
Oh,
love that.
what do we make? That's cool. Purple from far away.
I love that. Yes, 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 Joe. I love that. And you're so right. I think that's been a big practice for me as well, just having gratitude. And, I do want to also make sure that we're also reminding people that it's okay to feel every emotion. Like that's such an important piece of this equation, because we certainly don't want to have this thing where like, no, you have to feel positive if you're not feeling positive. Feel everything. Feel
Yes.
everything, but at the same time, know that everything is kind of in flow and it's temporary and it's not going to be permanent. And you get to choose. You get to choose in every moment what you want to experience. And it's okay to feel all the gamut of emotions, but to still be in that place where you can have gratitude for everything that you're experiencing. And the more you stay in that place, I know for me personally, and I think that's what you're saying too, Joy, is so much of our world opens up, and it's sort of the universe responding back to saying, wow, thank you for being grateful for all these different things. And, we're just going to keep bringing forth more amazing things your way and more experiences for you to enjoy, to co-create, to collaborate. And so I know that brings me a ton of joy as well. So I just have enjoyed this conversation so much, Joy. I'm so excited that I got to tackle you from your busy schedule and get you to join me so we could not only like learn more about you and your story and your book that people are going to be able to find soon as well, like all of Joy's information will be in the bio section everywhere that this gets posted. And I mean, I'll be honest, just from like that one paragraph, like we could totally have like a whole series on your life. But I was like, this is like the condensed, compact version. But I know we got to most of the things we wanted to talk about, which is really beautiful. And if you wanted to, there's no pressure at all. Usually my ending segment is, I'm like, if anybody wants to pull a card, if you want to channel a message, if there's anything you want to share with the audience, and if you don't want to, that's fine too. It's very open-ended. So I just wanted to put that out there, but I just wanted to thank you so much for joining me today.
Wonderful. Well, I'm going to close with the statement that I believe is going to be the front of the JayneTalks website. And it's really been, I've been posting it a lot all over all 19 platforms I work on, but that's that every single voice deserves to be heard. And I just want everybody to know you all deserve to be heard, not just speak. That's not the same, but you deserve to be heard. You deserve to be seen and honored for who you are. And that's what we're trying to process for you, is a place that makes that always possible. And we have some really fun ways that's going to go out too, Vanita, after we get done with doing the stages and get that started and rolling. We're also going to hit the streets, and we're going to do regular everyday people. We're going to go to hospitals and hospices and go to places where people can't leave, but might still need to be able to share their gift. Because just because you can't physically doesn't mean you're not mentally, emotionally, or spiritually doing work. And I think that a lot of people not understanding how if we didn't have money, it would change. It will change so dramatically, because there's an old woman sitting in a nursing home that's just wishing well on every school student in her school. That is not to be taken lightly, and it should have a paycheck just like anything else. She should at least be able to know she can eat and not lose her retirement home, because she's working. She's just not able to get up out of her bed and go to the school and do schoolwork as a teacher anymore, because she's 90. But she shouldn't lose her place to sleep. She's still working. And I think bringing a light to those things, showing that everybody's gifts really matter, is going to change the way we value each other.
Wow, that's so powerful, Joy. And thank you for saying that, because, that's actually a message I was going to share with the audience, is to just remind them that, each of them are going through their own experience, their own healing journey, and that each and every one of you that's listening to this, whether it's on the replay or whenever you catch this episode, you are so valued. You're so important. Don't forget to love on yourself and know that you're appreciated, that your story, your voice are so important, and you're worth it. And to just not forget that, and to know that each one of us is in a different process, a different part of our journey, but we're all moving together, and we're all finding each other to kind of collaborate and co-create and do more things together. And like my show says, let's all elevate together. So in saying that, I just want to thank you again, Joy, so much. It's been a pleasure. Like I said before, all of Joy's information will be in the bio section everywhere that this gets posted. And I can't wait to catch all my beautiful listeners on the next episode.